All right, so camera's on.
Hey
Say
guys.
say hi. All right, so what we got? We were talking about it at the most recent car event. Um, Cars that people are sleeping on, and maybe why? I don't know why, but cool cars that for whatever reason people are followers and they don't buy because they're not trending at the moment. So we made a quick little list. It just so happened to be 10 cars, give or take. And I guess we'll just start
Well, hold
by.
on. I want to clarify it a little bit first.
Okay.
So we're talking about kind of two different things at the same time. It's cars that guys that we hang out with should be not only buying and driving but also modifying. That's kind of the guidelines of this list, right?
Right.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Go.
Cars that you would think would be kind of no brainers, yet you go to all these car meets and you're like, not just meets, but like races and stuff. And you're like, where are these things, man? They're just not.
Sure.
So, anyway, first one, probably the most expensive one, is the Porsche 996.
Sure.
The
It's
reason
the
Yeah, the reason I defend that one, the main reason I defend that is because it drives me crazy when I hear people criticize it. One, the IMS bearing, which is fixable, and in the grand scope of owning the car in history, it's not that big of a deal. And then you can elaborate on that later if you want. The other thing is, people talk down about it because it's the first of the water cooleds. In 10 years, people are going to love it because it's the first of the water cools. People talk down on it because it's got ugly headlights. In 10 years, it's going to be the one everybody wants because it's got the awesome headlights. So, I've been around Porsche guys my whole life, and I see the way that people are reacting to the 996, and there's a lot of follower-ness going on there. And I think that because of that, you can still get a really good deal on the car. 20 grand, maybe a little bit less. But those prices are climbing, and your window will close. And you will be wondering why the hell you didn't buy one when you could have for sub $20,000.
it is, I would say, probably a pretty good investment right now. It's also the Porsche that Porsche guys kind of hate for the exact reasons that you said. Water cooled versus air cooled, the ugly headlights. But I mean, the car it's a good looking car. At the end of the day, it's still a Porsche, and it's also Miss Sally from the movie Cars, which I have a kid, so that's kind of a big deal. It was a wildly popular movie. Don't be surprised if that doesn't actually raise the value a little bit. Um, anyway, it's a cool car.
Yep. Okay. So second car on our little bias list is the Fiesta ST.
That's an extremely biased pick by our head editor in chief there, Jonathan Woolley.
I
I
have
wonder
a
why he
Fiesta
picked
ST,
that.
and if you don't have a Fiesta ST,
No
you're
way.
wrong because it is the greatest car. No, seriously, it is like the coolest.
Greatest car to never be made again.
The greatest
Oh,
car that
too
they're
early.
killing. Yeah, too soon, Junior. Um, no, the Fiesta ST is it's the essence of everything that tuners like. It's how a lot of us got started with little front wheel drive, turbocharged cars. It's simple. Nothing that doesn't need to be there is. It's a journalist's favorite car, not just like pseudo journalists, but like real journalists out there, Motor Trend and Car and Trend. Like nobody has a bad thing to say about this car. The problem is it's the car that all you guys out there want from the manufacturer that maybe you don't want yet. Or maybe it's got a name that you don't want. Or it's a little too goofy for you to feel like you're going to get taken seriously in a little jelly bean looking car called a Fiesta. But
I think it's.
that
I think,
aside, the aftermarket is insane. I mean, I'm making 300 wheel and hadn't touched fuel. Just touched the
yep.
turbo and did some cob tuning and a JST tune on top of that. And the thing rips, man. It's
It's a
fun.
super fun car, torquey as hell. Reminds me a lot of my old second gen front wheel drive turbo DSM. Just drives its ass off, torque steers like crazy. But I think that what this car is suffering from is the same thing that the Dodge SRT4 did for all those years, and that's that it's it is an import in a domestic body with a domestic badge, and it's just hard to get import guys to look past that.
Yeah, even though it's an import. I mean, this thing's been going for what, decades in the UK and in Europe, and you know, it's more of an import than a lot of imports these days.
That's true.
So, and just the driving experience, even on the stock turbo, it's a dog pulling at the leash. You can't. I've driven 500 horsepower Mustangs that it's easier to drive slow than a 200 horsepower Fiesta. You know, the thing is, if you're not trying to impress everybody, it's the most fun you can have for the buck. And you can buy these things because they're kind of a forgotten car at a lot of dealerships. Dealerships don't know what to do with them because it's not in high demand. I've had a couple of friends go and buy them since I got mine for like 19 grand, like out the door, brand new. So
that's making payments on it, so it's not like you're all out of pocket. You know,
no,
so that's the great thing about it. You get an almost brand new vehicle, possibly brand new vehicle, for very, very easily attainable payments.
Yeah.
Especially if you stretch it out and put a good little money down.
Kind of like the 996, like your window is closing. These cars, they're not, you know, when the dealerships are out, they're out kind of a thing. It's the kind of car you're going to wish that you got back in the day when they were new, you know? Okay, so third one on the list, the DSM. I'll let you start.
I don't agree with this one. I love the car. I am a DSM guy, but you can't say that they're slept on because they don't exist anymore. Every DSM, they all got parted out or broken down on the side of the road. They're being crushed in junkyards. I mean, they just don't exist anymore, man. They're dinosaurs because they're all dead.
Yep. And
you agree?
No, I think they died because the aftermarket, the enthusiast, didn't save it. And the enthusiast didn't save it because I don't want to say it's an internet rumor, but it was definitely just kind of freaking blown out of proportion with the crank walk thing.
Yep.
And then you got all the followers that don't even know what crank walk is, but they're on there talking about, oh, what, you're going to crank walk? Or, you know, and it suffered really bad from that. But the reality is that it's the 4G63, man. It was the Evo motor before the Evo was here in a
motor.
Kind of an unarguably awesome looking body. First and second gens. I mean, they're both cool. And man, like back in our day, you know, like me and you met in the early 2000s, DSMs were just kicking everybody's ass. They were so modifiable, you know, compared to like a Honda, especially an NA Honda, you know. You can buy these things now if you can find them. I mean, you can easily pick them up for a few grand. The motor swap's already done for you. It's got a 4G63 in it. You know, the whole JDM thing and the whole drifting thing kind of just put the final nails in the DSM coffin. But if you can get past that, you can beat a lot of those JDM, you know, fanboy cars.
Yeah.
So.
And if you're willing to be your own mechanic. You gotta know how to work as own a DSM.
Well, I still have two DSMs, so we've both had DSMs. If you guys don't know, and the motors are strong. When they break, it's a pain in the ass. It's not like
everything
a Honda.
Around it that sucks.
Yeah, it's you know, like you can look at your Honda and be like, oh, that's what's broken, and fix it. The DSM, you gotta like take 10 things apart to get to the one thing, and then while you're putting it back together, you do something. It's a pain in the ass, and the bodies are cheap, you know, you're going to be breaking door handles and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is the motor's there, and the motor has limitless potential. Even the front-wheel drive cars are a blast. Probably even more slept on, because, what's that?
I replaced so many door handles.
I just quit replacing them. But, okay, so enough with the DSM. Those of you who know, you know. The DSM's awesome. Next on the list, a little bit more arguable, is the Solstice GXP and the Saturn Sky.
Man, I still to this day don't understand why this car didn't catch on. I mean, it is basically a Mazda Miata with balls. And it looked better. It was a beautiful car. I kind of don't get it. Looking back, I was poor when they came out, so obviously I didn't buy one. I kind of wish I had one now. It's the perfect cruising around, fun on the street car. I don't think you're going to be the fastest thing in the world ever, but you're going to look good doing it, and you're going to have a lot of fun in that vehicle, for sure.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I guess, you know, in a lot of ways, the S2000 kind of won out. You know, it had the Honda community behind it. It's got more aftermarket support. It's arguably a better chassis, I guess. But come on, man! Like, you can't argue with the looks of this. If the right person gets a hold of a Solstice or a Sky, I mean, those things look incredible.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, the turbo. So it's a great platform. I was looking at them just out of curiosity. They're like $7,000. I mean, they're cheap cars for what you get. Rear-wheel drive turbo. Okay, so next on the list, you believed in it maybe slightly more than me, was the Nissan 300ZX.
Oh, well, that's just a car that I kind of grew up loving. It was kind of the poor man's Supra. So, you know, throughout my entire life, I always loved the Supra, but it was definitely out of my price range. The 300Z, especially because they had a non-turbo model, was kind of out there and attainable. Beautiful car, really has great lines, timeless headlights. It was kind of a Japanese supercar when there was really just a lot of four cylinders out there at the time. I loved it, man. I've never owned one. I've ridden in a lot of really fast ones, and I absolutely love the car. I'm not such a big fan of the Z31, just kind of a little bit too old and timed for me, but the Z32 is gorgeous.
I would say its Achilles heel is, maintenance.
It's impossible to work on.
But you know what? I mean, having said that, even if you don't buy the turbo, even if you only had a few grand to spend on a first car or whatever it is, man, like, be a good one. It doesn't have to be your forever car. It'd be a hell of a good car to kind of learn to wrench on a little bit, and it's got the right ingredients for sure. And I think even the Z31s, especially with the whole like nostalgic Japanese, 80s angles and stuff coming back in, like, those cars are cool. I don't know why they're not really catching on like some of the other cars. But every once in a while you'll see one pop up on your Instagram feed, that somebody's messed with, and they got the goods. Especially when you consider the price. I mean, dude, like, we're talking about, like, come get this out of my yard price. Like, they are not expensive.
The 31s, not so much the 32s.
Yeah.
They still hold a little bit of value. You got to reach a little bit deeper in your wallet for those, but not much.
Yeah. Okay, next on the list, the BMW Z3 and kind of in the same category, the Porsche Boxster. All right, I mean, I'll explain it. And the thing is, these cars have gotten kind of so inexpensive that you really can't lose anymore. When they had more value, you could lose because of maintenance or whatever. But at this point, I was talking to a buddy that knows BMW as well, and he was like, dude, like, even the smaller engine, he said if you could get the 3-liter, by all means, get the 3-liter. But if you find a great deal on the smaller engine, they're still a lot of fun. They're rev-happy cars. And he said when you break it, you just swap it like you do any other BMW. You can put any of the common BMW engines in there, the common swaps. And, I think the Z3's probably, I might be a little early on calling that slept on, but I think it's at the perfect age now where it's like, it's kind of a sportsman's car now. You got to be kind of an enthusiast. It's lost kind of the, the stigma around driving like a Z3, like now it's a little vintage. It's a little cool. And I think,
went from douchey to gentleman.
Yeah. Now it's kind of like, oh, okay, like this guy's an enthusiast kind of a thing, Like, I think if you got it and you started modifying it, it could be a really rewarding car. And
today it's a James Bond car.
Yeah. And it's got a bunch of E36 and E30 stuff, so the aftermarket's good. And like I said, you can't really lose out on this deal because even if the motor just takes a crap, you upgrade it. Kind of the same reasoning for the Boxster, because the Boxster is, it takes a lot of crap too, but it is a really fun car to drive. And now they have gotten so cheap that you could pick one up for, I mean, if you're not talking about an S, you can get them for like, I think $6,000, maybe add a few grand for an S. With some miles. But you can get one of these cars for $6,000 and just drive the piss out of it. And if it blows, sell it for parts. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to lose, $1,000. You're going to be able to get the car, enjoy it, maybe lose $1,000. But it's just a fun car to drive. Again, S2000, arguably, it's a better choice for a tuner. It's easier to work on by far. Parts are much more affordable. But if you want to be weird, the Z3 and the Boxster S, they'll be weird for you and they'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so next on the list for the Honda guys is the Prelude. What the hell happened to the Prelude?
It was arguably one of the best looking Hondas ever made, and it had the H motor. So, I mean, you already had one of the better motors.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, it was big. It definitely, early 2000s. It was a big popular car, but I kind of expected there to be more still around running, and they're not anymore. I really don't know what's happened.
I guess the K killed the H, and then the Prelude was just a heavy car with not the best motor. I don't know, but the fact is, still, if you're working on a budget and you want a Honda, I mean, look, you can tell yourself that you're going to do this big motor swap and then drive around in this little cheap kind of raggedy hatch with this pipe dream of doing a motor swap, which might eventually happen, or else you can buy a Prelude which already has a motor swap and enjoy having a fun car. You're not going to be the fastest guy at the drag strip. You're not, but it's a fun car. So yeah, the Prelude. I don't know what the hell happened to it, but looking around, you can find them for $4,000 all day, which is a pretty killer deal. Okay, next on the list, the Polaris Slingshot.
That one wins. That's the best one yet.
This is where everybody goes, "What? Sign off of this." No, yeah. For real, guys. For real. Like, I swear to you, we got a Slingshot as a press car.
Yeah, it's like a month.
I had it for like 3 months. They ended up leaving it all winter because there wasn't anybody else that was going to drive it in the wintertime. So they just left it in Georgia. And he was like, well, if you're liking it, like it was just going to go to a dealer and collect dust, you can keep driving it. So like we got it for 3 months, 4 months, something like that. Initial impression, it was god awful. I hated the one rear wheel. I hated the helmet. I hated the steering. Like, it wasn't for me. But I was like, all right, I'm going to go make myself drive this car. Like, one drive, it's not fair. And so I made myself just start driving it. And somewhere it took about 60 miles. And then it started clicking. And the thing became a ton of fun, man. Yes, it's a little weird. Yeah, people are going to look at you. People that don't even like cars are going to look at you. So there's that. But like, if you don't care what people think, I don't know if you can have more fun on the street. I really don't. The thing is flat out a wave runner on the street. And that was the thing for me. Like, it took me 100 miles to like stop thinking of it as a car. Like, at first I was like, but an S2000 is better in this way and this way. And if I was going to spend 20 or 30 grand, I get this or that. Stop thinking about what else you buy. Stop thinking of it as a car. Stop thinking of it as a motorcycle. Stop thinking of it as what the retired postman buys to go do retired things in the mountains. Like just drive it for what it is. Stop trying to find beauty in it. And it is the ultimate thrashable little car. I don't know. You drove it. What do you think?
It's just a tiny little burnout machine. I kind of fell in love a little bit faster than you did. I still remember going to your house and being really sketched out. Like the first time I was like, really, I got to drive this thing? Because it just doesn't feel super safe when you get in. I always
it's kind of got seats like a side-by-side with. They're kind of like squishy and like, man,
move around a little bit too much in them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt a little bit sketchy, especially because my wife was in the car with me. And she was super sketched out. She didn't know how I was going to drive, but I took it easy. But once I kind of, took the filter off and started giving the car hell, I kept expecting the car to get, overwhelmed and start, coming around on me and doing dumb stuff, but it didn't. I mean, I really gave that car a lot of hell, and it held its own, everything it was supposed to. I was kind of shocked, and I loved it, and I've been begging Polaris to give me one for months now, and they're just not.
It really is like it's like all the burnouts, none of the risk, because like it does burnouts. You guys got to like try and understand, but without getting squirrely, because it's got the two wheels in front, so it just you can hang it out and it just sucks it right back in. It's hilarious, man. Again, you've got to truly not care. But, if you got 20 grand to blow, like, I can't think of a more fun way to do it. Okay, next on the list, the SRT4.
Yeah, we've kind of already gone over this a little bit. the thing is, they weren't slept on back in the day.
No.
I remember going for extra back in the day.
It's very similar.
SRT4s everywhere.
I almost thought about saying the DSM and SRT4 because they both suffered. They both had the same kind of buyer, and then they both suffered the same kind of fate. But if you guys like, I think this is appealing. But like SRT4 owners are like, have you ever met one that didn't talk shit? Like, they all talk shit. They all think that they have the fastest car in the world. They'll all run you at any time, any place, anywhere. I just think that's appealing. I think the attitude that comes with owning an SRT4, because it's kind of a prerequisite. You've got to not care. You know, you've got, and these guys always just, all they want to do is go beat imports, man.
Yeah, and they're good at it because they make a ton of torque.
Yeah.
And all those guys throw massive turbos on it straight from the factory.
Yeah. But
because the motors are pretty damn strong.
It's another one of those cars you can buy for $4 or $5 grand, easy. And you already have your motor swap. You've already got a lot of aftermarket potential. So instead of, dumping the money, let's just say in like a 240 or a Honda that needs a motor swap where you have to dump more money, more time, you have a reliable form of transportation right off the bat that has a lot of aftermarket potential. And they're just badass. They just got attitude, man. They do.
What kills this car, it's got two strikes on it right off the bat. And that's one, it's a domestic trying to be an import. We've already gone over that. But second, it's a neon. If the neon had never been invented and they just went straight to SRT4.
They'll tell you, it's not a neon.
It's not a neon.
SRT4.
But if the neon had never been invented, that flaccid little penis of a car had never been made, and they just went straight to the SRT4, it wouldn't have caught half the shit that it did, and it would be one of the greatest tuner cars ever made. But it didn't, So it kind of is what it is.
Kind of Mopar being the badasses that they are present day makes me like the SRT4 even more now.
Yeah.
Because they had the same attitude. They didn't market it as well, but back then, Dodge was basically, when that car came out, they were like, all right, so you kids like little slow cars, huh? All right, so we'll make you a little slow car, except we're going to make it damn fast, and it's going to blow off in a parking spot. Like, anytime you touch the gas in those cars, they would just, know? So they kind of just, it was funny, because it was always like the domestic brand, the ultimate domestic brand, trying to understand this tuner rationale, and what you get is an SRT4. Like, it's damn fast, and it's just a neon and with a motor swap. It's just, it's a funny platform. Okay, so that brings us to the last one on the list, the Mazda RX-8. I'll tell you why.
You take it. I'm torn with this one.
Very simple math. You can buy them for next to free, and you can enjoy the rotary experience, and when it leaves you stuck on the side of the road, you go buy your LS swap, and you're still not in the hole.
Yeah, and it handles great from the factory,
It's exceptional. There's aftermarket support. It's a
great chassis.
International aftermarket support, so you can get all your JDM fanboy pieces. You can buy I consider it modern.
That rotary is like a bad dog. It's going to pee on your leg eventually.
Yeah.
Every single time.
But again, it's a small investment. For the price of buying a 240, you can virtually buy an RX-8 running that's newer. You can enjoy the rotary thing, see what that's all about, and when it leaves you high and dry, you can do your LS swap that you want to do on that 240 anyway.
So the 240 is a great analogy because, to be honest, I wouldn't buy either. But if you're looking for a daily driver, I would stay the hell away from either one of those cars. If you're looking for something just to build on the weekends and have fun with and go beat the shit out of, and you don't care if it breaks, perfect car. Absolutely perfect car.
Yeah. It's intriguing. I don't necessarily recommend it, but people are sleeping on it. And my math adds up. Buy it cheap if it breaks, do the motor swap. Yeah. So anyway, that's our list. It's, I guess, complete for now. Although it's funny because you start making little lists like this and then you're never done, man. Like, I keep thinking of other ones. I'm sure after we finish this, we'll think of 5 more great ones or somebody will tell us.
We scratched off probably 10 already. So.
Yeah, because we didn't fully... there's a lot of neat ones out there, but it's hard to justify what what defines people sleeping on it. But you know, we tried to make them affordable. Most of these cars, aside from the Slingshot, the 996, and the Fiesta, most of these things are, hold on, $5,000 and under. Yeah, $5,000 and under cars. So they should be everywhere, but they're not. So anyway, that's our list. Let us know how we did. As always, you can reach me at jwooley@s3mag.com. And then Mike is M Sanders, it's MSANDERS @s3mag.com. Anything else?
No, that's it. Have a good night, guys.
Later.